The session is also being streamed, so people who missed it will can watch it later. So, Pranjal, welcome to DAOLationships weekly demos at Bankless DAO. Would love for you to take us through what you have with what you're working on with DAOfolio.
Thank you, Talal. Thank you so much, Salman. So good day, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, from wherever you are dialing in. My name is Pranjal Chaudhary. I'm a co-founder at DAOfolio. We are a Web3 startup building the LinkedIn Plus Upwork for Web3. As part of our as part of our mission, our goal is essentially to help Web3 orgs, be it DAOs or projects, to acquire high quality and retain users as well. So we are building a data credential network which will help people who are new to Web3, people who are crypto curious but have not really started on any Web3 task or activity, both these segments alike, to kind of help them to come on board, engage in tasks, and start contributing more than 10x faster than current alternatives offered by other platforms. Let me kind of try to elaborate what I'm talking about. Probably the first 10 minutes I'll be kind of talking about a platform, and the remaining 10 minutes I will do a demo of the flows for both the DAO admins and the end user. And then maybe the remaining 5 minutes I'll spend on a Q&A in case anybody have any questions or not. So how do we kind of onboard the next 100 million contributors to Web3? Through our platform, we are looking at three key pillars. Number one is seamless onboarding. This is where we kind of curate credentials from multiple off-chain and on-chain data sources to kind of build relevant profiles for users, which will help to kind of filter specific tasks and jobs personalized to their profiles and skills. Secondly, we are talking about the whole matching algorithm that will match a certain section of tasks with a particular set of job requirement needs to the skills that the individual has. This will utilize the proof of work algorithm that we are kind of building. Third is, of course, the data network, which will essentially also act like a campaign manager, where a particular Web3 project or a DAO, they can filter a specific set of users with specific set of credentials to kind of either do an airdrop or do a certain campaign visible to this set of users. This is something which we call as closed bounties as well. So these are the three key pillars which we are kind of looking to kind of build our first project in terms of getting contributors to come on board to Web3 and start contributing to those different tasks. So if I had to kind of go a level deeper, so why we are tackling this problem? Essentially, the current Web2 alternatives that we have, the credentials of users are kind of segregated across different apps or services. The user doesn't have any upside in terms of the data ownership, right? And the upside to monetization is also kind of a bit restricted. So we are building a zero extractive platform from an end user perspective, right? We are not kind of taking any, you can say, cuts from the contributors once they complete the task from the DAOs or the Web3 projects. Secondly, once they complete the task or they import the credentials from Web2 before they complete the task, right? All these credentials, the user will have complete control, and they can kind of use that to kind of bid for other tasks or apply to other platforms as well. So this is, in a nutshell, what we are trying to do. Currently, a user has to go over certain hoops to kind of discover DAOs or Web3 projects of their liking of or where they find a wavelength match. Then they kind of look up particular Discord servers or channels to kind of identify tasks or bounties, etc. So with the DAOfolio platform, what we're trying to do is, in a two-step process, the user can decide to connect the different Web2 credentials like from GitHub or from Twitter, Discord, etc., to kind of build a more fleshed out portfolio, number one, which will help them to kind of bid and apply to relevant tasks put forward by DAOs or other Web3 projects. Secondly, they can also import, in case they are already into Web3, they can also import their Web3 credentials in terms of their contributions, their assets, other NFTs they hold, and other proof of work that they have done in other tasks and bounties with other projects. All this essentially feeds into our recommendation algorithm, which kind of maps this credentials of an individual to a particular relevant task on hand of a given DAO. Of course, there will be multiple recommendations in terms of relevance. And also, when a user applies to any given task, a certain relevance score will be passed from the platform as well to the DAO or the Web3 project. So, in case that they are kind of getting too many contributors and they need help in filtering, they can do that on the relevance score as well beyond the credentials. And for the DAO, this helps them to kind of find them of course, the right contributors. We have a DAO dashboard where the DAOs can manage the different spaces, tasks, and bounties, and of course, the whole bounty management or slash task management workflow that we'll be talking about in the demo. As I was talking about the different credentials and sources that we kind of plug into, these are the some of the key examples that we kind of plug into to kind of get the individual's profile enriched, right? Plugging into off-chain credentials like from Twitter, GitHub, Discord, or offline events. And on-chain, we kind of rely on different subgraph queries, snapshots, and this data is across multiple chains to kind of help build a more complete profile for the user and increase the relevance in terms of the application to the task. These are certain mockups. I will be going over them as part of the demo as well. This is the user dashboard where the user can see the number of projects on that he has applied for, the different integrations that he has connected or not, off-chain, on-chain, open bounties, whichever task they have applied under dashboard. They can see all of this, which we'll be looking at through our demo. This is the dashboard from a DAO angle, which we'll also be covering, where the DAOs can create the DAO profile. They can create the respective spaces or guilds that we call them. And within that, they can create different tasks and bounties mapped to these guilds, which we'll be covering as well as part of this demo. So before we jump into the demo, if I have to kind of step out a bit in terms of how the architecture is and how we are looking to kind of get our thing going, I was talking about the different data integrations we have built into place for Web 2 as well as Web 3 in terms of the different slicing and dicing of events or activities that we capture. The first project that we're doing as part of our startup is, of course, the contributions, task, and matching thing. In terms of activities. We're also kind of expanding upon that to kind of also build a campaign manager module, which will also work like a closed bounty, where particular apps or communities or DAOs can decide that they want to run a certain module like a token airdrop or a early adopter program to users who hold the specific credentials in a Web3 or a Web2. For example, CoinGecko might want to run a certain NFT program for people who have staked Aave coins, for example. So they can do that through the campaign manager. This is something in the works, and we are looking to kind of release it by early Q1 of next year. I'll kind of skip this part and directly go now to the demo. With the DAO dashboard first. So a DAO or a Web3 project can either sign up through Discord or a MetaMask. Let's take the example through Discord. I've already created a profile. So let me do one thing. So initially, when the account is created, they will end up on the profile page where they can create the spaces. I can add one more space here. Let's say I'm looking at the developer space where I will list tasks that are suited for whole tasks related to development operations. I can create this space. Similarly, for marketing or for community, I can create different spaces and organize my task over here. So in this developer space, I will go here and create a task. I'll choose a task image over here. Create. Skill category, I can select among different skills. This is more related to development. So I'll select here in this space. It is the developer space where it will go to. I can put any amount that I have an approval for in terms of what kind of amount I want to put. Let's say I'm putting here 200 and the currency and token is USDC. I'm allocating, let's say, a week for this task. And here I can enter the different task details. So let me quickly put this across. I can specify a lot many more details here that is clear to the developer in terms of what is needed in terms of delivery of this particular project. And I can here specify how can they participate in this project. So open bounties is something which we are live right now. Closed bounties is the campaign manager module where we can the DAOs can target specific users with specific credentials. This is something in the works, and as I mentioned, it's targeted towards the early part of Q1 next year. Here I can enter the reviewer of the particular task from my DAO or the project, and then I can click on adding a task. So this task now will show up under my dashboard. Plus, when I go to the user dashboard as well, this task will probably surface up in case I am a person with a relevant profile. So let me do one thing now. Let me jump here and create an account. Register. I can add different options of registering. I am choosing email. I can either choose Discord or MetaMask as well. And we are integrating with Open Wallet as well as we speak. So, Wallet Connect as we speak. So, probably in the next couple of weeks, we should have Wallet Connect over here as well. So, this is, I've created my profile. I will try to edit it by uploading a PFP. So here I can correct the off-chain credentials that I was talking about. I might decide to do it later as well, in which case I will get a general set of open bounties. In case I decide to connect each of these or whichever credentials are applicable to me, I will get a more filtered set of bounties relevant to my profile. In case of on-chain credentials, I'm not using this wallet elsewhere. Otherwise, once I connect my wallet over here, it will show up the different NFTs or the tasks that I've done earlier. It'll show up over here. So this one doesn't have anything, so it's not showing up. When I go to open bounties, it will show me the different bounties that have been created, which are relevant to my profile. Because I have not connected anything, hence it's showing me the default set of bounties and tasks. Here I go to the first one that was created through the developer space. I click here, I see the different tagging here, what the details about, what is the acceptance criteria and everything. And then I decide that, okay, I should apply for this. And then it shows me how do I submit the application. Okay, this is the task and this is how I submit it. I complete the details offline and then I click on submit. Once I do that, it sends a notification to the DAO admin regarding the tasks and the activities related. So here I can see that, okay, the created Telegram bot, that task has been submitted by Pranjal. Right? And here I can again review the code and the documentation sent by Pranjal offline and then decide that, okay, let me approve this. Once I click on approve, it will kind of open up me to go to payments. And here I can decide that, okay, I am willing, I'm okay with the submission and now I can pay here. Before I click on pay here, I forgot to mention one step. As part of the account setup for the profile of the DAO, there will be an option for setting up safe accounts, right? And this is where we have a check that whenever you enter the safe account, it will check whether the safe account is valid or not. In case I take this safe account, and this is a valid account, so let me kind of reduce some characters and try to add this. It will throw me an error because it's not a valid safe account. So we wanted to kind of prevent bad actors from trying to kind of abuse the system by trying to get the work done earlier by putting this safeguard in place or verifying the safe of the DAO. So going back to the workflow, once the work is completed, I have approved it as a DAO admin. Here I can decide to click on pay. And this will take us to the integration that DAOfolio has with Parcel. And then I can choose any of these options to kind of close the loop and make the payment. So that is how we have built our alpha. So right now we are in closed beta. We're in talks with a couple of DAOs to kind of get the tasks listed. And on the user side, we have close to around 200 plus profiles across design, social media influencers, content marketeers, and developers as well, who are kind of looking to kind of contribute to those tasks. That is all I had from my side. I want to open up this one to any questions and anything.
Hey, Pranjal, thank you very much. Great demo. Just curious. So, when you enter this platform as a contributor, what are you going to see your own profile, or are you going to see the tasks? I was just a little unclear about that.
So when you enter the platform as a contributor, Salman, you will get to once you create a profile and all, you're going to see the tasks that you can apply, and as well as you can kind of keep on enriching your profile as well by adding any other connectors that you feel should be connected to kind of give you more relevant recommendations.
So where are you gonna discover the tasks? Like, is there a how are you supposed to find the tasks?
So right now we have not published the app to the main website. So it will be part of this. So once you click on sign up over here, it will go to the DAOfolio app, and then you can discover the different tasks and bounties in the website itself.
Okay, got it. If anyone have any questions, please do go ahead. What has been the feedback? Just curious, you're receiving from the DAOs you're working with.
Yeah. So I mean, they were receptive in terms of the problem we are solving for. A couple of questions came or feedback came regarding having more onboarding options in terms of not only having wallets but also things like Discord, right, as a kind of sign up mechanism for DAOs. Secondly, the other feedback was about having safe and connecting safe as part of the onboarding of the DAO or the Web3 project profile, so that it kind of prevents the bad actors from kind of getting things done and then not paying the contributor, right? So those two were some of the major feedbacks. Thirdly, in terms of both the open bounties where anybody can apply or closed bounties which are using the campaign manager, they wanted more kind of you can say a two-way communication, which we are building in through building a Discord bot as well. That end user or a contributor can talk to the particular reviewer over Discord before they can apply and get their doubts clarified. Similarly, in case the reviewer of that particular task wants to kind of check with the contributor on some clarification, they can do that before they approve it. So that two-way communication is something which we're building right now. Maybe another week to 10 days, that should be in place as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Any feedback from anyone regarding the overall contribution task space that you have encountered or you're interested in? Anything that may be of use to us as well in terms of our learning?
Yeah, thank you, Banjo, for the demo. Um, you mentioned something bringing Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. So basically, what this does is does it have the same functionality as Upwork, where you can just go to Upwork and probably you're building your portfolio there and then apply for jobs. Do you have because there's this seamless communication between the client and the person applying for the job. So how do the clients see if the person applying for the job has enough reputation to take on the tax? Is there a way to check that, or do they have the view of the applicant's profile?
Exactly. So once the end user applies to the task, DAO admins will have access to verify the user's credentials as well by looking up the user's the profile, right? The second layer to this, as the next step, what you're talking about is, let's say the user completes a task on our platform or any platform, right? We'll be building a LinkedIn-like resume for that person or a profile page for that person. Right? That will also kind of add on as they complete more tasks. That profile page will get more enhanced as well. And later on, we are looking to kind of also build a social graph around that, where certain key contributors can have other people following them, right? And probably will connect blogs like Mirror or other platforms as well, so that kind of enhances the reputation of the different contributors.
Okay, cool. Also, how does is there a way to verify the tax before being put up? Because Upwork has been susceptible to such scam where they basically put up work for the the applicant to apply, and then when the applicant is done applying, when they are done with the work, they just they leave without paying them. So is there a way to prevent that with DAOfolio?
Yes. So, Makil, we are planning to do that. I mean, because first we wanted to launch it and let people use it. But this is definitely in the roadmap that we are thinking about in Q1 itself, where we wanted to do something like a escrow mechanism. We're just trying to find a specific Web3 partner in payments who kind of can help us in doing it. We tried finding them out, but could not when we tried it about a month back. But definitely it's in the works. If we could not find a partner, probably we'll try to do some workaround to kind of address this potential abuse scenario.
Okay, cool. So that's cool. Yeah, so I don't have any other question. Does anyone have any question for Angel, King IBK, Polito, oh sorry, Kutubu and Samuel BG, Ernest?
I was just wondering how does this compare to the other bounty platforms that are also available? What do you feel about the landscape?
Salman, good question on this. So, how you're differentiating is number one, the whole matching, right? Instead of just being a listing platform for tasks, we are more oriented towards matching the right task to the right skill. That's number one, and through the credentials onboarding of the user as they come on board. Number one. And number two, the output of this whole exercise, that means somebody completing a task and all, that gets, you can say, a feed into our whole, the Web3, the on-chain resume that you're talking about, right? That kind of, again, it's like a virtuous cycle kind of a loop. So as they complete more tasks with our platform, right, that kind of profile keeps on getting enhanced. And that in turn kind of helps our close bounty, the campaign slash campaign manager module as well, which is the next phase of our roadmap, which helps particular DAOs or Web3 projects to target specific credentials of specific users, kind of get them to do certain tasks. That is how we are trying to kind of look at it in the first two stages of DAOfolio. And later on, we have a few other programs on, you can say, on the queue as well, that will kind of take it to, you can say, a much larger scope as well, around the whole concept of work in the decentralized environment.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Panjal. Just a heads up to everybody, we're about to have another demo as well. And Pranjal, if nobody has any question, really appreciate giving us this demo, a very promising product, and look forward to using it once it's out for everybody to use. Uh,
Sure. Thanks, Salman, and thanks a lot, McNeil and the rest of the community as well. Thanks for giving the opportunity, and definitely looking forward to kind of having Bankless on board the platform.
awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Hey everyone, do stick around. We're about to have another demo just now. Hey Ed, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good, thank you. Excited for the demo. We'll just
Absolutely.
give it a minute. We'll have a few people join and
Yeah, no problem.
Everyone, we're about to have a demo of a couple of products from Forefront. Just hang around. We'll give it a couple of minutes. Ed, I think we can start. We have some people here, and we can expect some more on the way. Yeah, great to have you here. Welcome to Bankless DAO. This is weekly demos by DAOLationships, and looking forward to seeing what you have to show us from Forefront.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Absolutely. Should I just jump right in?
Yes, you may.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, for anyone on the call, definitely feel free to chime in whenever you have questions. Feel free to interrupt me. I guess a good place to start would just be a quick intro. My name is Ed. You can find me on Twitter as Pasta Cartel. I'm the product lead of Forefront. I don't suppose everyone here knows of Forefront. Let me just kind of share my screen and give a really quick intro of it. Can someone just give me a heads up if they can see my screen? Is it working for you?
Yeah, it's working right now.
Okay, awesome. So Forefront is, I suppose you can call them one of the OG DAOs in the Web3 space. We've been around for quite a little bit, or at least when I say quite a little bit, I'm using Web3 time here, where, a year feels like a decade. But Forefront's probably best known for our media. If you guys ever want to check us out, our website is forefront.market. Some of the things that we're best known for is, for example, our newsletter. If you're anything like me, there's constantly way too much noise in this space, and this is just a great way to get the TLDR and everything, just like tiny summaries on some of the most pertinent or important stuff that's happening in the space. So yeah, definitely check out our website. We do have a membership, so you'd have to sign up to get access to some of our stuff, including some of the features I'll talk about in some of our products today. But yeah, maybe a great place to start before I demo the actual products is to talk about what we care about. And a good place to start is this term that we phrased. We call it tokenized communities, and it's a little different from DAOs. Personally, our thesis, everyone at Forefront, we really think this is what is important in Web3 space. It has everything to do with probably what you're familiar with, just the idea of like people coming together in the communities, sharing a cause, and then coordinating and coming together to actually make stuff happen around that. We kind of see this as a life cycle, right? Balaji will call it like a one commandment. We tend to call it more like a meme. But a group of people will essentially believe in something. They might create an NFT. They pool money together in a treasury, and then they start engaging, coming up with ideas. How can they proliferate that mission or meme into the world? How can they use governance systems to actually fund a large group of people to actually make stuff happen? And that's what we believe in. So we create tooling for that. The first tooling that I'll talk about is something called Terminal. So you can check that out at terminal.co. Terminal was really something that was near and dear to Forefront because we worked with a lot of DAOs in the space. And, for those people who've been around, one hot topic from the very beginning and, even so now is governance. And how do you help a community do effective decision making? And that might sound easy. It's not just about voting, but when a community scales, and Bankless certainly is at scale, how do you distribute context so that people know what's going on? Where's the hub to do that? And yes, there were like many different solutions that kind of solved this, but we just felt like there was more you can do with it. So what we did is we took a lot of our partnering communities, and we created Terminal. I believe we have Bankless in here as well. Now, forgive us, this is going through a massive update. There's going to be a V2 version rolling out in a week. So there's certain things that are going to change. But the idea was to showcase to communities that there is this place that they can create their own, their own dashboard, and sort of show their community members what they thought was important. So an example that you're seeing now, we kind of decided, but this is highly customizable. So if I were to join Bankless today, right at a glance, I could see how many people own the required amount. So I think we here, I don't know if this is still updated, but 35,000 bank considered a member. If that criteria has changed, like that's something that can be edited. And then we see of that, how many people are active. And we start doing some interesting things. So first we can talk about decentralization score. For those who are more familiar with some calculations and measurements in macroeconomics, there's something called the Gini coefficient score. And this sort of measures the equality of wealth. And we thought, why don't we apply this to DAOs as well? Let's take a look at all the wallets that carry tokens from Bankless and understand if there are some massive whales. And the idea is that, the more whales you have, there can potentially be some negative side effects, especially if your governance is tied to how much tokens you hold. But, a 1 would represent total equality. So everyone who owns, everyone who owns bank has the exact same amount. And closer to 0 means that you have some people that own, disproportional amounts on the larger side. So we came up with stuff called decentralization score. We came up with stuff called community score, which is, we used to have something that, as I mentioned, it's coming out in V2. We kind of took it away because we wanted to improve it based off of feedback. But, looking at things like, activity and governance, other measures of activity like social activity, growth, stability, runway, expenses. What we want to do eventually, because it's really important to us that we don't define the formula. We're gonna expose it so that people can come in and they can sort of like pull levers and say, this is what I think is a healthy community, and you can see a score here. Based off of the default settings, it's a pretty strong score for Bankless. And then, some social stats. You might be able to think of this sort of like a funnel, if that's how it works. But typically we see most people coming through Twitter and then joining Discord and then, being active and then contributing, if we can pull that. All this is pulled. Most of the stuff is on-chain and obviously some off-chain stuff. We want to be objective as possible. So I think as I'm sort of spewing along, if you guys have questions, I can't see the chat. Salmon, you can just kind of read them out if anyone wants to ask anything, but I'll keep going in the meantime. So we sort of have like a social setting here. We have a treasury section as well. You can track things like the price, the treasury growth, how much money is actually in the treasury holding, and you can see exactly what it is. And this is important as well, because, going back to the philosophy of tokenized communities, it's important that if you're requesting a proposal or funds from a community for an idea that, is meant to push along the mission of Bankless, you need to understand things like how much money is actually in the bank, how many of that is actually liquid holdings, and stuff like that. So that's why we highlight this information. And lastly, loading here, which we might have an issue with Bankless, is just more of the governance, like how do we actually pull what's being proposed and what not. Looks like they might be working on that right now. But those are the sections. And like I said, this is more or less a default page, but over time, like we've built customized stuff for certain groups. So let me see if I can find some examples. Like we've built one for index where you can see exactly, it's sort of like white label to them. Maybe something a little more interesting for those that actually follow this space. We built one for nouns. And nouns is a perfect example of a tokenized community. Just because like they put so much emphasis on, funding anyone anyone in the ecosystem on anything that proliferates nouns. So we wanted to show like, what's the average, funded amount, it's in my opinion pretty insane. Like the average proposal comes out to 126 ETH. They've funded a total of 17,000 ETH. They are getting roughly on average in the past 30 days 35 proposals, and some months they're up to like 50 proposals and only a subset of that funded. We want to make it easy too for people to research and traverse. So if you wanted to understand all the recent proposals, you could see them here. If you wanted to see, if there's a single person that's doing a lot of the proposing or, impacting the voting, you can also click on names to filter. So these are all sort of functionalities with Terminal. Showing you some more extended functionality. Terminal is also a place not just meant to be data-driven information, but you can use it to pull stuff like all the members that hold your tokens. So in this case for nouns, we pulled every single member. Could be hard to see here. Let me just make it a little bigger. And you could see, oh, this person holds, well, that's their treasury for their committee. Almost 30 nouns. POAP.eth has 23 nouns. And you can click and understand more about them. And same thing for projects. It just seems like for a tokenized community to spend so much on proposals, there needs to be a directory where people can come and explore. So for example, if I wanted to see how much Nouns has invested in public goods, I could see that they've spent almost 3 million or almost 2,000 ETH, and here are the proposals they funded around public goods. Or if I wanted to see esports, this is how much they've spent. So hopefully this kind of illustrates the different ways that you can use Terminal. We continue to create a lot of custom, essentially we're contracted out. We have a lot of communities that reach out to us that want to create their personal page or even take some of these pieces of data or widgets and have it on their own community pages. That's all things that we entertain and work on. For V2, now that we're on Nouns, for anyone that's familiar with Nouns Builder, we're adding all Nounish DAOs to Terminal. We're going to have information on live auctions. There's a ton of new features that we are adding. So definitely, keep an eye on our Twitter to see when that actually comes out. I'm just going to pause there. Any questions, any thoughts on Terminal, any suggestions? Always open to feedback here.
The nouns dashboard looks crazy, by the way. I mean, it's not just a dashboard, but it looks like a website on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we're trying to do is that, the mission of Forefront is actually to help to uplift this entire space. That's always been our mission. So whether we're doing that through media coverage, writing original thought pieces, or creating products, it's meant to uplift the space. So what that means is, if anyone on this call or someone else is trying to build their own DAO or their own tokenized community, these tools are here to try to help. And, what started as more of an information hub can be more of your community home. And we'll talk about that a little more in some of the next, one of the next demos that I do. I'll show another tool working on. But we'd like to think that, if you are able to create your token, whether you do that through Nouns Builder or you do that through something else, we could supply the rest of the tools for you to actually create the home for your community. And personal thesis, right? A lot of people love Discord. I personally love Discord, but it might not be right for every community. So we actually plan on, we offer tools to let people use what they need to operate a community without Discord, in case Discord's not your thing. So yeah. Salman, should I jump to on Pulse or Pulse?
Yes, you can. But just a quick one. How do you, what tools do you offer to operate a community without Discord?
Yeah, so let's it's Pulse. That's kind of the segue to Pulse.
Sure.
So let's
Awesome.
chat about that.
Yeah.
So Discord's a fantastic tool. People have pretty polarizing opinions on it. I think it's pretty good. I like it, but it does have a problem, right? And so a community is many things, right? If you think about the end of 2020, the beginning of 2021, everyone was like, "Oh, DAOs are about the vibe. It's all about the vibe," and that's true. But DAOs can be much more, right? I think the real breakthrough in Web3 was the fact that tokens are such a flexible tool. They allow not just for governance, they allow for security, they allow for identity, they allow for many, many things. And to me, like, that is actually an upgrade in UX for a community. It's like this single simple thing, a token, does so much, and all of it helps towards coordinating. So what are you coordinating? If you think about Web2 communities, right? The vast majority, like, obviously, there are communities in Web2 that coordinate very well, that can take action and actually do things out in the real world together. But the vast majority of Web2 platforms is just sharing information. If you think about Reddit, think about Meta, Facebook, whatever, and I think the exciting part about Web3, no matter how you slice and dice it, is that these communities have more action-taking potential, right? Like, again, tokens are a trust mechanism. So, people who hold the token, there's a less need for trust. There's better ways to make decisions with tokens. So the problem with Discord, tying back to that conversation, is that it's kind of like, it's supposed to be like a tool where you're in sync, but it's kind of like async, right? If someone shares something in Discord, there's a good chance that most people don't see that message, and in a couple minutes it's drowned out by a bunch of new messages. And to me, that's not very conducive and helpful for this idea of idea generation, hopefully turning into actual projects that get funded and that people work on. And that again, to me, is the core of DAOs. Today, 2022, yes, maybe you have DAOs that are about proliferating these noggles here, but maybe in 2023, 2024, it's something different, right? Again, imagine if the Occupy Wall Street was a DAO. Imagine BLM was a tokenized community. Bankless, certainly the mission there, right? Bank less, like, I think that is a very honorable mission. So I think a lot more can happen here. And so we wanted to address that. And we realized, again, here's the big problem, right? You have a small community, that's fine. Everyone can chat with each other. What happens when you have 100 people, 200 people, 300 people? There ends up being this term about collective sense-making, right? And this is very key as you start looking into communities, what it means to have culture. Like, what is culture, right? It's like a shared set of values. It's a shared way of thinking about what's accepted behavior. It's things that you agree upon. It's lifestyle. It's artifacts. It's members. So how do you assist with this? And what we kind of fell upon was that, like, this is very, very key to a community building a culture, and Discord just doesn't facilitate that easily. Discord's great for just like casual chatting. And so we said to ourselves, how do we leverage more of Web3 tools? And what can we start to provide communities? So if you want to check this out, it's at onpulse.xyz. Currently it's in beta. feel free to add me on Discord if you want to check it out. I'd have to give you a curator pass. Read our manifesto, understand what we're trying to do, because we do think this is an inflection point, and we do think that a bunch of things are about to change. But when you do connect to Pulse, what you end up seeing is basically it's a few things. And again, early days, we're making a lot of changes from communities. But the idea is that you can surf the web, and anytime you find something interesting, you can save it. And so we actually have a Chrome extension that you can download right here. It's Pulse. You can find it directly on the Pulse page. But basically, it will look into your wallet. So you connect it to your MetaMask or whatever, and it will look at what communities you're a part of. So if you're a part of Bankless, it might show Bankless here. And you can just save anything, really quickly. So if I was on this page here and I was like, you know what, this is interesting, I want to save it, because the same way you bookmark a tweet or something like that, you can just click, you can either just save it to yourself, like add to my Pulse, personal pulses, or you can come in and share it directly with community. So let's imagine I found this article related to Bankless, and I'm like, you know what, I really need to share this with the community. I think this is important to Bankless because this talks about, XYZ. I click share, and it will be added directly onto the Bankless community here. And here you can, do a lot of things. You can search by tags. You can, search by keywords. And it will essentially show you everything that everyone's shared. And, you can also just read stuff here. So first thing I want to share here, Pulse is now you think about it as a repository for all the interesting things that are related to the mission of whatever community you're in, like Bankless. In this case, I'm looking at a community called Folklore. But that's interesting in itself, right? Because Discord, you share links, they get lost. So now it's something that you have here, and you can continue to chat about it and have that discussion remain, right? So it doesn't get lost with a bunch of messages. And it's token gated, so anyone who owns Bank can read it here. When it's long form articles, you can even come into this place and catch up on stuff. So, if there's 5 articles that are really pertinent, being shared a lot, being upvoted a lot, so your community is signaling to you that this is important to the community, you can come here. You can always read it in what we call Zen mode, that gets rid of all the distractions, and then just kind of read stuff in here. So that's one thing that it does. Second thing that it does, everything that is shared to a community is actually shared on chain. And I think that's pretty interesting, because what you're starting to see, to me, right, what gets lost when you look at Terminal, it's not just about people who are actually voting. Those are not the only people providing value, right? What about all the people that are contributing to the community knowledge, right? So for Pulse, what's really interesting about Pulse is that if you share something through the extension, or if you add something, directly onto the page, we are actually sending you a Polygon NFT that shows that you curated it. And we're saving the HTML files in Arweave. So everything is captured on chain. So you might be contributing a lot to Bankless, actually, by being a researcher, by being a curator, by continually pushing forward important discussion related to the mission or the meme. And we want to capture that. We want that to be recognized. And right now, there is no way to recognize that. So you can start to think of that even slowly as like a reputation. So again, pulling from the same endpoint as Terminal to just pull members, you can start to see these people are sharing more. They're contributing to the discussion more. You want to see what they shared, you can click on their profile, understand what they've curated. So yeah, that's kind of Pulse. And to share more about that, you can start to organize it. So, here are interesting article deep dives. I've organized the path. We have 36 articles. Here are a collection of tweets that we think are really interesting. And so you can check it out here, all in our tweet section. Here's like a sub DAO that we have called FF Lab. So I can imagine a bankless one where you have a research path or folder, whatever you want to call it, and people start collecting stuff in. We're seeing emergent use cases with this. A term that we're hearing a lot lately is collaborative media, right? Every DAO, in a sense, is a media DAO, right? Because a DAO, by definition, likely has a mission or a meme that they're interested in. So it's important that they have a media arm, right? The media is their voice. So today in DAOs, media is usually run by like a small group of people, but is there a way to leverage a community? Could you create, a folder for media, have people, suggest topics that they think are interesting, have the ability to upvote stuff that people like. You can see here that we're actually going to leverage AI to help out with this. I don't know if everyone on the call has been playing around with ChatGPT and whatnot. But yeah, how can we get people to both vote on topics that a DAO should write about, edit and refine essays together, using the power of, consensus and everyone upvoting to say this is the one we like best, just have that auto-publish. I think that would be really cool. And so all that is going to be stuff that is made possible by Pulse. So that is what Pulse is. Any questions on this? Did it make sense?
Yeah, totally. I'll just leave it to open it to others to ask any questions. But it's a great presentation, Ed.
Yeah, definitely. If people, so I'm just catching up with my comments. But if people have questions, want to reach out, definitely, shoot me a message. If anyone wants to get set up and test some of this stuff out, happy to help as well. If anyone has ideas, feedback, wants to build with us, we're definitely an open community and love collaborating with anyone and everyone.
Just curious if Ernest would have any ideas for how maybe Research Guild would use something like this.
I think it would be more useful as part of like an education system for the DAO. We have all our guilds and projects have some type of education that happens, and being able to curate some of that content and then, validate the different educational content that members bring to that organizational unit, and then to be able to say, this is the content that was most helpful, it does start setting the stage for like some interesting use cases in education. So instead of research, people, I just see more like you could have education categories based on guilds. Guilds could provide content, but also at the same time, you would have like our education department adding on to more in-depth educational content. And then, of course, as people learn things, on their bankless journey or just their Web3 journey in general, they would be able to add to that knowledge repo. So it is pretty interesting as a knowledge repo. And there is a certain level of discussions that, just certain types of discussions are difficult to have in Discord. Certain types of discussions are difficult to have on discourse. And there's, if we can have different tools that allow for different types of discussions, then we will start to see different behaviors emerge from, the using of those tools that we just don't have with Discord and Discourse, because there's only a limited type of discussions that can happen.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, actually, so Crypto Culture and Society, CCS, is another DAO that's actually trying to use Pulse for the education side. They do a bunch of courses. So it's interesting to see, like, they have their own, maybe a little different from what you're talking about, Ernest, but they have their own course material that they share out, and then having sort of students of that course also curate their own stuff has allowed for more discussion to ensue. So definitely seeing a lot of cool use cases there.
And the idea around sense making is something that I don't think a lot of people are familiar with, but it's super important in collaborative, agile organizations to be able to make sense of not only their environment, but in order to make sense about oneself's organizational units, like within a DAO. And in Bankless DAO, we're kind of unique, is that, like, yeah, we have a DAO, but most of the operations and decision making actually happen at a sub level beneath the DAO level. And that's where a lot of our sense making doesn't happen, because no guild is responsible for analysis and self reflection, and no department is responsible for building a sense of community and reflecting with community members. And there's not a role for it in Bankless DAO either. It's expected L2s do it, but it's not really anything that's required to get your L2 status. And so I think we'll start seeing, with a lot of these new tools and new ways to look at our organizations, how do we make sense of ourselves so that we can adapt to the unknowns? Kanbans and D-work is great for creating work streams for things that but the majority of what we're going to be doing in the future are things that we don't know now. And our tooling in Web3 has to enable or allow for those unknown solutions to emerge to solve unknown problems, right? If we know the problem, we can create a very nice centralized structure or semi-centralized structure or component team to handle that problem. But the problems that we face systemically that are caused from over-centralization are unknowns. And that's where it gets tricky, I think.
Yeah, I love that framing, Ernest. Cool. So, Salman, I don't know if I rushed through that, but I do hope that gave a high level summary of both Terminal and Pulse. Just to answer your question in the chat, Rika. Yeah, anyone who's interested in Pulse, definitely reach out. There's no price to it. Terminal, obviously, if we're building like a custom terminal for a community, there's a price, but that really depends on what they're looking for. But yeah, it was a pleasure, I guess, kind of walking you through those products.
Awesome. Just curious, how would it work if a new community wanted to get onboarded into Pulse?
I think right now, they would just reach out to me. So even to access and view it, you need a curator NFT, which I just airdrop to people. Starting next week, we're just going to allow people to mint themselves for communities that are on an allow list. But yeah, if a community is looking to get set up on Pulse, just reach out to me. The reason why it's done that way right now, as opposed to sort of self-serve, is that, I want to be there to understand a lot of the different use cases. We're being pulled in a lot of directions, which are really exciting stuff. I'll throw out some really random things, but there's a community that wants to leverage proof of attention which is this idea that, like, if you're consuming content on Pulse, especially long form content, we can look at how long you've spent on the page, understand if you've read, and then you get dynamic NFTs that change the more you consume. So that's one case. The collaborative media is something that we're really focused on. That's another one. We always talk about education. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of different use cases. We're open to them all, but the best way to do it is to reach out to me to make sure that I can not only set up the community, but get feedback so I can make the correct changes that will help enable some of these use cases.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that.
No worries.
If nobody else has any questions, I think we can wrap. This was great, Ed. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to using Pulse.
Likewise. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for having me.
Good days.
Bye-bye.